you know you're in trouble when you're not being asked to talk about clinical neurosurgery anymore. I said, well, maybe I could talk about vascular or something, because if you really want to do that, you can. I was like, nah, this will be more fun. I found that talking about this, actually, which has been a sort of a side gig for me since around 2008, it's taken on more relevance. And to be able to do this when I'm actually a disclosure, I'm the founder of Playback Health, which we'll talk about on the CMO. This is not a CME meeting, right? So I'm okay. So be able to do this in front of Dr. Sami, who this is my second time I've met him. I've known Jacques for many years, obviously, and they're similar in many ways. I read this book that Anil Nanda sent to me after I got hurt, called From Strength to Strength. I'd really recommend anybody read it. It's basically talks about these. Oh. Well, yeah. Oh, I can. I was skiing in January 2022 with some friends. I don't remember everything. I was unconscious for a while, but I took a turn and went off a cliff in Vail and landed face down. And when I woke up, I didn't realize was unconscious. When you're unconscious, you don't know it. And when you wake up, you don't know you were unconscious. And I was face down. I saw blood on the snow, and I went to reach for my nose and couldn't move my left arm, and I couldn't move my right arm, and I couldn't move my legs. I was quadriplegic and couldn't feel anything, and was just absolutely devastated. I was lying there for about 15 minutes before the ski patrol came. Told them I was a neurosurgeon. A similar story of our other from yesterday. And I told them I was a neurosurgeon. I had a high cervical spinal cord injury, and they had to fly me off the mountain. And they did. They landed a helicopter about 50 yards away, flew me to Denver. I started to get my movement back slowly. And within 2 days, I was anti-gravity, was able to walk. I had a severe central cord, unstable neck, was fused front and back, and I've made a pretty reasonable recovery. So it's affected me deeply. As it's like a near-death experience. It's changed me, and I think for the positive. But Anil had sent me this book because he felt it would be important to read, and I would recommend the book. Anyone read it in our field, especially whether you break your neck or not. It's an important thing for ambitious, talented people to read, because it talks about these phases of our careers, and that the early part of your career has this fluid intelligence curve, which is when you're the most ambitious, have the most energy, your brain is off firing all cylinders. And you look at poets or musicians or athletes, scientists, you look at people win their Nobel Prizes for their work in their 30s and 40s, not their 50s and 60s, in fact. But there's a reason for that. And the problem is not so much that that's a fact, but what you do with your next. We have another 30 or 40 years left to live. And then you have what's called crystallized intelligence, where you use your experience. It's your experiential intelligence. It's based on a combination of this fluid part, but more on your experience. And I as a surgeon, we have to recognize this. That there are many of us who try to carry on and try to do what we were doing until we probably shouldn't be doing it. We see NFL quarterbacks, for those who know the NFL, who stay around too long. Happens to athletes all the time. And when I was thinking about Dr. Sami, he's sort of a freak, because we have these people in our midst who somehow are able to maintain not their vigor and their physicality and their fluid intelligence, perhaps. But as I've listened here today, I don't know you that well, but as I've spent some time here, I recognize that these curves I think they're merged for you. That you've obviously found this incredible impact with world neurosurgery in China and Iran, Hanover, and not only the world of people that you affected. And I think this is what carries you forward. It's not just the surgery. And it's seeing the relationship you have with your son. It's not common when people have as accomplished as you. You can see the confidence of your son and his contribution carrying on. That I think maybe speaks to how bright and how ethical and how honest you are. But the book resonated with me, and I think Jacques just took on his new job, and he's still not back on the fluid curve now at UT Houston. And we're all looking forward to seeing your success. You've already been remarkably successful. I know the meeting's going to be a great success, and I'm really humbled to be a small part of this. It's just a fantastic array of people and ideas. So thank you. Thank you both for what you've done for neurosurgery and what you've done for me. So I appreciate you very much. So on to more mundane things. I always struggle with the idea of the problem that patients just don't hear what you tell them, especially when it comes to neurosurgery. I'd have these long conversations, show them their films, they'd go home and they'd forget everything I told them. And so I started recording the conversations and actually making screen recordings of their MRI, their CAT scan, and giving them movies and a CD. I'd burn a CD and give it to them. And this morphed into what became this company. Part of this has been studied, that patients retain very little of what they're told. Within an hour, they lose nearly 40% of what they've heard. And this is a real problem in our business, especially when it comes to cultures and different countries. I mean, it's even worse. And also we waste an incredible amount of time on the medical record. We have to spend a huge portion of our day with documenting. Most of the time we're documenting for ourselves or for the attorneys in the United States. We're not really, people aren't reading our notes. We're just coming up with a plan. And that's for ourselves most of the time, or for our residents or our partners, or maybe our one or two referring doctors. And this contributes to anxiety, physician burnout. There's this whole thing called pajama time in the US where doctors are taking their charts home and doing their notes at home because they just get so far behind. And in April of 2023, we wrote this paper. I knew that chat was going to be a big deal. I wanted to get the first paper out in neurosurgery. We have a very robust research group at my hospital with IT. And so we basically asked chat to write an editorial. We used chat to write the editorial. And then we commented on what it came out. It's pretty smart. Randy thought of this. And what you realize when chat came out is how revolutionary this was. Now, I challenge all of you. This is a massive change with AI. There's lots of different kinds of AI. It's not all one thing. Chat is really conversational or generational AI. And so we used this. So we had all these videos and audios. And so we created an ambient listening platform. So we fed all these 4 years of audios and videos into a chat model and created a large language model for ourselves. And we had our own neurosurgical ambient listening company. And so what ambient listening is I'm going to demonstrate this with Jacques, who's my patient. You basically turn on your iPhone or your computer, just start talking, talk to the patient. And then when you're done, you've got your note. And it gives you a plan, different structure, and you can put videos in there also. So you can create something just for the patient, a video of their MRI, and you also get a note. So rather than talking about it, this is sort of how it works. You can turn on your mobile, record the visit or the screen. It creates a transcription and creates your note. And that's basically how it works. It's just recording, transcribing, and generating. So I just thought the best way to do this is to do a demo. So Jacques, you're going to be my patient. I'm going to turn on, yeah. I won't do a rectal or anything, but the remarkable thing about this, demoing is always a high wire act. And so I used to be very afraid of this, particularly, if you put it on airplane mode to block your text, you never know what's going to come up. So if something terrible comes up, I apologize in advance. That's happened to me, actually. It wasn't terrible, it was just embarrassing. So I'm going to turn on the app, which is right here. And what I can do now is I just basically start talking. Just activate it. So Jacques, how old are you?
63.
Any other medical problems? Any other major medical problems?
Previous acid reflux.
And do you take any medication at home?
Yes, statin.
Which statin do you know?
Rosuvastatin.
Rosuvastatin, okay. Any prior surgery?
Modified Nissen fundoplication.
Oh, that's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
Do you smoke?
No.
Any drug allergies?
No.
And are you married? How many children do you have?
3.
And what do you do for work?
I'm a neurosurgeon.
Where?
Right here in Houston.
Oh, terrific. What do you do in Houston?
I'm chairman of Neurosurgery.
Oh, fantastic. That's fantastic.
I used to be in Miami.
Gotcha. And what do you do for fun?
Oh, I love cycling. I love reading math, and I love traveling.
Terrific. Why are you here in the office today?
Because I'm the president of this very nice congress. The guy, I don't know if you've heard of him, Majid Sami.
Okay. And do you have any medical problems while you're here today as a patient?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Help me
Oh,
out.
I'm sorry. It's silly me. Yeah, I've been having headaches.
You have.
Yes.
Are they worse in the morning, at night?
You know, I sometimes it wakes me up in the middle of the night, and I wake up with them, and I get some funny feeling in my left hand sometimes.
Any nausea or vomiting?
Occasionally,
Any numbness on your left side?
on and off.
Hmm. Do you and haven't had any weight loss or anything like that?
No weight loss, no.
Okay. No other diarrhea, other symptoms, shortness of breath, chest pain, coughing?
None
Nothing.
of that.
Well, given that story, I think it's hopefully nothing, but I think we should do at least a brain MRI. And if that's negative, which is very likely, I'll probably have you see a neurologist who can, we may want to just have them check you out. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Terrific. So I just stop it there. And then I have a choice of types of notes that I want. These can be designed sort of boutique-y or bespoke for individual physicians. This is where we're starting to get into trouble with this because doctors, especially non-neurosurgeons, really actually care about their notes. And so I'm just going to call it a standard medical note. I'm going to choose that one. And then this will just crank away while it usually takes about 30 seconds. Hopefully it'll take, with the Wi-Fi here, it could take a little longer. The way this works, I'll wait till this comes through.
Does it, I'm sorry, while it's doing,
Yeah.
does it exclude extraneous?
Yeah, that's why I did
conversation?
it. What's incredible is it really allows you to have a total conversation. And if I'm talking about the New York Mets, and here it goes, it talks about the New York Mets, or it won't include that. And so you can, but originally I was a little bit worried, but it's really edited beautifully by the model. And it saves an incredible amount of time. I mean, I would say that I've got, so there's Jack, got your name wrong. But. So here you go, 63-year-old. I know, I always amazed, it's how things, I don't even remember that he told me, but I forget because, you're just incredible. So you can read it for yourself. Patient is mainly concerned with frequent headaches. Jack, frequent headaches, swing and sleep, also feels previous numbness in his left hand, doesn't smoke, denies having any drug allergies, no major medical problems. Also, had MASSIN surgery in the past due to there's a failure due to duplication. Patient had an event pertaining to acid reflux. The patient has been prescribed rosuvastatin, correct spelling. Underwent MASSIN surgery. Patient underwent their family history, occupation, chairman neurosurgery UT Houston, married, 3, enjoys cycling, reading, math, and traveling, does not smoke. So you have pretty much everything here. And then, of course, you get to the therapy intervention, diagnostic tests, referrals, patient education, and it will code this as well. We're also beginning to get into coding and billing, because these are things that really slow physicians down. This is a revolution. It is a massive change. Just think of residency training and the way how this slows us down and all the other, all the other things that are happening. And I think that for me, it's been just such I've tried to get technology incorporated in my hospital for years. And any tech adoption, there's a thing called crossing the chasm, where you have the sort of earliest like crazy people like me, and then you have the next who are people like you who heard this talk and say, well, I got to try that. But then there's this chasm between what are really called the early majority. If you can't cross that, if you can't get people to really use it who aren't, maybe as innovative, aren't willing to take risk, you'll never successful. Very hard in healthcare. Super hard because people don't want to pay for it. They're in their workflow. But this has been remarkable. Just it's almost viralization. And this is just in our health system. A number of providers in just a few months went from sort of 5 to 160. And you can see the utilization of active usage, which is more than 20 notes a week, almost 100 people. That's really, really fast. And that's because it's so valuable to our enterprise. And it goes without saying what the benefits are. And you save so much time. The way this works is really interesting. And I think for the younger folks, getting to understand these terms is going to become important. For us to be, especially neurosurgeons, be familiar with tech and how these things work, I think will benefit us. And we should be the leaders in this. That are basically using a sort of open source voice recognition software called Whisper. This is all free. And Whisper is the best transcription software out there. It's so accurate. It basically takes that transcription and then chat turns it into a note. And then the note sends it back to us. And then it's all encrypted. And basically, so we use Whisper and then chat, and we trained Whisper, we trained the transcription with our own data. So we were able to feed the model with all of our audios and videos, which made it much more accurate. I mean, I think there was duplication was probably the only problem there. So in the hospital, we take an audio file, record the audio, it goes to AWS, it's in the cloud. There it's converted by Whisper into speech to text. Then the text gets sent to Azure, which is the Microsoft cloud. That's where chat sits. The chat algorithm then converts that transcription to a note. We were able to feed using different APIs, which is application program interface. We can create any API for any kind of note. So if you have a specific kind of note you want, we can actually use your own notes and feed that in and create a note structure for you. And then once you have that note, then that comes back to us and we give it back to you. So that's basically how it works. So you don't need scribes, very few errors. I mean, it's very rare to have any kind of true medical error. And it can be designed essentially to fit the needs of really any type of physician. And I think that, you know, it's no question it saves me time. I'm done all my billing and my notes are done. I mean, this has never happened in my life. I'll see 25 patients, you know, over the course of a day, and I'm always, I can eat lunch. It's insane how much, when you're saving 4 or 5 minutes a patient, you know, it's a remarkable amount of time, and it makes you a better doctor. You're more relaxed, you're not worrying about remembering everything, not rushing back to dictate your note or type your note. I carry the results on my mobile, so if a patient calls me, I have the note right there. It's a massive improvement. And I'll just finish with this. This is a video of, I don't know if anybody knows who this is. I've asked this before, if you've seen my talks before. You know, anybody knows who this guy is? What's that? Same sport, but that's close. Correct, Dick Fosbury. So this is the 1968 Olympic Games, and this is Dick Fosbury, who is a good but not world-class high jumper in the early 60s. And he basically jumped over in the high jump, went over his back, which like this, which is the way we think of Dwight Stone's the way every single high jumper jumps this way. Well, the Russian here, you see he goes over forward. This is the sort of scissor kick jump. The American here who actually won the silver, same kind of style. The reason why Fosbury's jump works so much better is that he's changed the center of gravity of your body from your umbilicus to your nipple line. And so it was a remarkably better biomechanical way of jumping. And he changed the high jump forever. He won the gold medal in the Olympics. And after this Olympic Games, everyone converted the Fosbury flop. The question was why, how this happened. He didn't, you know, I was interested in how did he come up with this? Like, why did he do this? And it turns out that the major reason for this had nothing to do with him thinking I got to jump higher initially. It was that in the early 60s, just like in the long jump, there was a sand pit for the high jump. And when you're running horizontally and landing the sand pit going horizontally, it was safe. But the trouble with the high jump is that when you go forward and landing on your feet or your knees, these guys were twisting their knees and ankles and they were getting injured. And so the track authorities changed the landing pit from sand to a big pillow. But everybody kept jumping the same way. Except Fosbury realized that when you have a pillow rather than sand, you don't need to land on your feet. You can land on your back, on your neck. You can, you know, unfortunately, there's no pillow at the bottom of my little cliff. But I think the metaphor for this is that when things change, it's easy to keep doing things the old way because you're in your workflow. It's the way I do it. You know, and I think Majid obviously has always thought this way, looking for this implant, incredible. Like, you know, if we keep doing things, we have a new idea or new thing. I believe that AI, and for that matter, chat, this type of AI, is a massive pillow. And we have to start doing things, whether it's diagnostics, radiology, or this kind of forward-facing IT, this kind of large language model, generational AI. We have a real rare opportunity. Neurosurgery should lead the way. We should be the Dick Fosbury of medicine. And because we have these people, we have these intelligent people, these ambitious people, these strength people who, you know, we're gonna be the ones who can do this. And this conference is a reflection of that, doing it, you know, a new way. And I'm sure the AANS in Boston will be in that vein, given your incredible energy and what you've accomplished. So again, let's be Dick Fosbury's. Thanks again, Jock, and appreciate the time.